everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're sitting down with Mr. Kevin Wheeler. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be doing some giveaways very shortly, so make sure that you're either commenting or liking the page. Make sure you subscribe, and you'll be included in those contests. We are powered by SpiritLeaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. Looking for Canada's best cannabis products have never been so easy with SpiritLeaf. Alex and his staff are the best in the business and will help you with all your cannabis needs. All you have to do is follow ours and their Instagram, and you'll be set to go, and you'll save some money. And now, back to the podcast.
Room anyways, and then...
Alrighty.
All right.
Promotional considerations are paid for by the following. Project XGuard, Raul Chavez. Hit him up on Instagram at Project XGuard. He's doing good things for the community, and he's doing a not-for-profit, and he's helping the at-risk youth in the GTA. So if you have a jiu-jitsu program in your club, or if you're looking to add on and you're trying to help out local at-risk youth in the community, reach out to Raul Chavez. That's Project XGuard on Instagram, or you can reach out to us on the Choking Hazard podcast page. And guess what? Lockdown round 2. What are you going to do, Aaron? I don't know. Maybe smoke some marijuana? Well, if you want some marijuana, maybe you should go down to SpiritLeaf Waterdown. And speaking of marijuana, Kevin Wheeler is on right now. SpiritLeaf Waterdown. It is always 420 there. Did you hear any of that ad read, Kevin?
I just got in just at the end, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to keep going. So, hey, Kevin, you're familiar with 420, right?
A little bit, sir.
A little bit, sir. Have you heard of SpiritLeaf Waterdown? Located at Aaron.
I have through your, because of you, yes, I have.
Why, thank you. Located at Aaron. What is the address?
64 Hamilton Street, Hamilton North, the street. So
it's located in Waterdown. Our good friend Alex, he's just opened up a dispensary there, and they have an in-store promotion, but unfortunately, due to pretty much everything being locked down in Ontario, you may not be able to buy in-store, but what you can do is you can pick up online. So they have you can order, and then you can pick up. They have a curbside pickup available to you. So if you want gummies, you want CBD, you want THC, you want CP3O, R2D2, it don't matter. They got it all there. They got more chocolate than Willy Wonka. Check it. Yo, yo, yo. SpiritLeaf Waterdown, 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. That's about a 20-minute drive from Peel Region. It's also maybe about a 20-minute drive from Hamilton. So it's actually fairly centrally located. And Kevin, what are you going to be doing over this break? You can't train, or can you? I don't know. Maybe you're training. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're training illegally, but we don't talk about that here. But you can also go down to SpiritLeaf Waterdown and pick up some product, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm stuck in lockdown right now. I'm not allowed to leave for 14 days because I just traveled to the States.
That's right. You just got back from where was Masters War? Was that in Orlando?
Yes, it was. Yeah, Florida. Right in the motherland of coronavirus.
Motherland.
Motherland. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Congratulations, by the way, on that silver medal. That's awesome.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kevin Wheeler is now my maestro. Let's introduce yourself to the podcast, and then we'll talk about your experience down there. So introduce yourself to everybody here. I'm going to also introduce you as AKA Mike Briers Jr., also the winner of the Mike Briers Lookalike contest. But introduce yourself to anybody who's listening to this who doesn't know you.
Yeah, well, thanks guys for having me. Appreciate it. Really excited to be on. Kevin Wheeler, black belt under Fernando Zulic at Action Reaction MMA. I run the kids programs here at the Action Reaction, both clubs, the Pickering and the North York Club. And I teach the adults morning classes and beginners here. I've been training for about 11 years, a year as a black belt now, and compete any chance I can get.
Which unfortunately, chances right now are
there's a lot less of that lately, but it seemed like a good opportunity now with everything winding down for Christmas and all the lockdowns that the opportunity arose, and I jumped on it. Right.
Fortunately, slim picking. Was that kind of your reasoning for like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at Rona pandemic world Masters Worlds in Orlando, just because like once you get back, you're pretty much into Christmas, and then
that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it around Pans. I was thinking about going to the Pans back in September, but it just didn't make sense. We had some classes going on, of course, you know, with social distancing rules and everybody in their own areas and stuff like that, and small pods and stuff. But we did have classes. I did have responsibilities. I had things to do, right? And didn't make sense then. Now the world shut down again, and we're not allowed to train. Jiu-jitsu is outlawed, so I saw the opportunity.
Jiu-jitsu is now illegal.
Jiu-jitsu is now illegal.
Jiu-jitsu is unfortunately now illegal. Okay, so you're down in Orlando. Take me through the whole experience of, because we talked to a couple people who've competed internationally, like during you know COVID, during a pandemic. So like take me through a little bit of that experience first and foremost. Like, so you go down there, like what's it like in Orlando for people who aren't there? Is herpes everywhere? Is COVID everywhere? Is it a free for all? Like give us like your personal experience about the whole trip down.
Well, I was a little surprised about that. I was expecting it to be the wild, wild west, right? I got off the plane at the airport, and everybody's wearing masks. It's mandatory in all the airports. Everyone seemed to be pretty respectful about social distancing and everything. When Gringo came and picked me up at the airport, and we went back to we hit a Walmart, and then went back to the spot we were staying. Everybody again seemed to be following rules. It's like here, you know. A bit more people were allowed in the store, but people give you a wide berth. Everybody's wearing their masks, at least from my experiences, right? When we got to the venue, it's, you know, a bit more of the same, mainly people wearing masks, but there were a few people just wearing the chin diaper walking around. A little harder to enforce too after people just fight in the bullpens. People were taking off those masks, you know, you gotta breathe heavy, need a bit more air. So
I'm curious, like, what are the protocols like? So you walk into the venue, like, are the rules that they're giving you, like, hey, okay, you have to wear a mask between like mats or like where you're going? Like, what are kind of like the rules and provisions that they've given you for like the IBJJF and other tournaments that you're aware of?
So we walk into the building and we get a temperature check right away. Then you walk straight into like the sign-in kind of area where they take your ID and kind of give you your stamp. Only competitors on that day are allowed in the venue, and they're allowed one spectator or coach. So go in, Gringo is my spectator, so we go in, no problem. Everybody's only you're only exempt from wearing your mask when you're on the mats, right? Everybody's supposed to be wearing masks at all times. They did have some people walking around trying to enforce, but you know, it is hard. They were saying on the loudspeaker all the time, make sure you have your mask on at all times over your nose and mouth. But of course, you can only tell people that so much. There was a little bit of rule breaking, but they do their best to enforce all that, right?
Yeah, that was our experience with me and Aaron at a gym that we frequent that we don't speak of on this podcast. You can kind of read between the lines, but there was a lot of protocols and things to follow there. Like you go in, you get temperature checks. So if your temperature is high or low, they kind of screen you and kind of see like what's going on with you. And then you go in, you get changed, and then you go work out. But basically, like between stations, you have to be masked up basically, or for reasons like if you have like certain health issues that may make wearing a mask, if it makes those things worse, then like they'll give you like a face shield or things like that. But it seems like a similar procedure where you go, okay, you're gonna go in, you're gonna wear a mask, it's just you're following the same things that you've been doing normally, except you're just wearing a piece of something over your face.
Pretty much, yeah. It's pretty much more of the same there, you know, just you're supposed to wear it all the time, and the only time you could really take it off was when you're mat side, about to step on the mats and go fight. The referees had a mask on and a face shield. It is what it is, right? It
is what it is. So take me through like your matches mindset. You did very well. I think I wasn't that surprised like that you did very well, but I think some people were, you know, it's like, who's this guy who looks like Mike Breyer's getting a silver medal at Masters Worlds and black belt at that. So like it probably had one of the more
in the finals. On the podium in the finals, the guy who beat me, afterwards he looked at me, he's like, who are you? Where'd you come from?
hey, they're like, it's you, and then there's like a bunch of Brazil. Hey man, where you train? Like, I haven't seen you before.
Yeah, so that was cool. But yeah, the main thing was the mindset was just not to go through all this shit for nothing, right? Like I knew I was taking a big risk going down to Florida. I knew that I was gonna have to quarantine for 2 weeks on the back end of it over Christmas, not see the family for Christmas and New Year's, have a lonely kind of holiday season. So there was that pressure of not doing all that for nothing, right? I didn't want to go and then lose that first match, and fuck, that would be a long quarantine, right?
You do all this stuff. You go down to Florida. You know, the risks of COVID maybe that might be a little bit higher there than here. I don't know. I mean, I think the risk in general is going to be higher in both places, regardless. That's besides the point, though. But you know, you're taking a risk. You're right, though. You're taking a risk going down there. You're going to compete, and yeah, it would kind of suck. You go down there, you get submitted in a minute, but you went in. You're like, you know what? I'm going to make this worth it. I don't know when I'm going to compete next. I don't know when I'm going to compete next based on this. Like, I don't know what's going on. So you go in and you do your thing.
That's it. I was just excited for the opportunity to compete, and yeah, a lot of nerves. I knew a lot of people at home were watching. A lot of students, a lot of kids, you know, a lot of kids and their parents, a lot of people I didn't want to disappoint, right? So again, I didn't want to do all that for nothing. So I would go into that first match with a lot weighing on me, right? A lot of pressure. And that first match went really well. The lapel was working really well for me. It felt like the guy really didn't see what was coming. Kind of let me set up to that deep inverted De La Riva worm guard. And before I know it, I'm on his back. I played kind of conservatively to get that win. But, you know, after that match, just the confidence was up a bit. But at the same time, it's like, is again all this worth it just to go 1-1? No, not really. I want to go do better than that, right? There's always
every match is like, I think I got one more in me.
Is that enough? You know? Of course, from the beginning, there was always the hope that I go down and I win a gold medal, and I'm telling myself I'm going to go smash people. I'm going to go do my best. I'm coming home with a gold medal. But at the same time, you know, it's that little bitch in you telling you, can you really do that? You know, I'd be happy with not going one and done, right? So then after that first match and that kind of weight is lifted, it's like, do I want to go 1-1? I went at Euros and I went 1-1. I need to improve that record, right? Well, then,
was Euros your first tournament at black belt?
It was, because I just got my black belt in December.
Yeah, and then you went to Euros, and then after that, like just everything went to shit, basically.
I was training for Pans, and then the world fell apart, right? And Pans never happened, or it didn't happen until September.
I was in.
So then, so yeah, so I won that first match. Wasn't going to settle for 1-1. I went out and I didn't realize I had the number 2 seed in the brackets. I guess that's the good thing about not studying too much the brackets and looking up on the names. So I had no idea what I was getting into. I was fighting Fabio Passos, and I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, I think he trains with Cabrina. I think he's like one of his instructors.
Oh yeah, he's a top competitor, top level guy, someone I shouldn't be beating. And I went out there and I had a good match, and I played with his lapel a little bit. I almost got to his back. I got some sweet points and was able to eke out the win there. And then I step off the mats and everybody's like, "Oh wow, you beat Fabio Passos." I'm like, "Who? What? Oh, okay.
Who's this guy?"
So the confidence was up, and now the new motivation wasn't anymore not going 1-done or 1-1. The new motivation was that my next match was going to be against the guy who beat me last year at Worlds. This guy Patrick Hamilton beat me in the semifinals of Masters Worlds last year at brown belt, and last year at brown belt I was in a good spot to win it, because you know I'd had a great showing in the Euros. I had a great showing in Pans. I was kind of one of the top ranked competitors at my age and at my belt. And then, you know, I ran into a killer and he ripped my foot off, and I lost that match by footlock. So here I am, and I have a chance to redeem myself and fight this guy Patrick who beat me last year. So now we had a new motivation, right? And I went out there and I got the referee's decision. It was a very close match. He was playing with my foot a little bit. I was able to come up on, he thought it was a double guard pull, but I pulled first, so I got the 2 points for coming up. He stalled out toward the end and swept me right at the end of the match. And we ended 2-2. Luckily, the referee gave it to me on the ref's decision, but that one could have gone either way. So then here I am after that match in the semifinals. And then, of course, now the new motivation is, fuck, I can actually get a gold medal. I can actually possibly medal at my first, or I've secured the medal, but I'd be medaling at my first world championships at black belt. So, you know, now there was a new motivation, a new reason to fight my hardest and try to get that gold, right?
I think what you mentioned before, like not knowing who you're competing against sometimes, I think I could give you like a psychological advantage, because like you mentioned the person who you competed against in the second round, he was like a high ranked like Masters 1 competitor, and then you went out, you're like, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm just going to do my thing and let's see what happens. Because I remember, I think when I did like purple belt worlds, I think my first match again, I ended up winning like a ref decision against, it was like one of the favorites to actually win the whole like middleweight division. And like, I think he got silver at medium heavy and then cut down to middleweight, which is the division I was in for worlds. And then I competed against, and I didn't look up the guy. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to work my game. We'll see what happens. And you had like a similar mindset as well. You're just like, I know what I'm good at. I'm going to execute it on people. If they can stop it, then hey, you know, good for them.
You got it. I'd rather not know too much about the other guy, because then I get too much in my head. I get too worried about getting sucked into their game, get starstruck. You know, I'd rather not kind of have to deal with that, right?
Take me through, like we talked about a lot of like your, you know, competing down in Orlando during this whole thing, but like what have you been doing like this year just to prepare in general? So like you're going to do Pans in March and then like the whole world fell apart. Like, what have you been doing from like then to now? Like, have you been training, pod training? Like, what are you trying to do to try to stay, you know, stay in shape, but like stay mentally like sharp as well?
Well, the thing about training for the Pans is I was training for Pans. I was all ready to go. And then I messed up my knee really bad. I have a partial tear in my ACL and I tore my meniscus. I have a buck and handle tear in my meniscus.
Oh, nice.
So all that happened right before the Pans, right? So I kind of felt a little responsible for the world shutting down, because I kind of willed that there'd be some catastrophe and the world wouldn't be able to go to the Pans because I was going to have to miss it. So then that kind of happened. So I felt kind of a little bad when the whole world went into chaos. But yeah, the first little bit of that, the first few months of that was just rehabbing my knee, just looking towards strengthening things, towards strengthening the body a little bit. I have a kind of weak old body because I don't lift enough weights. So just trying to fix that. I have a great guy in my corner helping me out there, and just focusing on rehab and sharpening my skills and getting better. As you know, the whole world stopped for a few months, and then we kind of opened the gym in July, I think it was, when we were allowed to start to do some kind of, the lockdowns kind of loosened up a bit. We were allowed to do some kind of training in our own space, and we were doing I was running the kids classes. The kids would be allowed to partner with siblings or with somebody that the parents would be allowed to be in their bubble, and we were just doing a bit of training like that, right? So I was doing a lot of teaching still during the lockdown, during the summer of the lockdown, and doing that until kind of the most recent lockdowns. We had Pickering open, so up until pretty much Christmas, we were still doing that. But yeah, just that's what I've been doing, just training, teaching, and getting ready for the Pens, or ready for the world. Sorry.
Well, for the record, I think Aaron likes to blame me that I went away on vacation for 1 week and the whole world fell apart. It was pretty much that 1 week. I went to Costa Rica. I was actually there. Arthur was in Costa Rica at the same time I was, but we're at different ends of the country, and we were trying to like meet up. But I'm thinking back, like if me and him meet up, if we would have actually like came together and met up, I think the world might have exploded. So I think we're just the two of us there kind of like messed up the poles of the earth, and kind of this is where we're at right now, unfortunately. But I think if we actually found each other in Costa Rica, I think the world might have ended. So there might not have been any jiu-jitsu after that.
I'm cool with that theory because it takes the blame off me, so I'm down.
Yeah. I wouldn't place any of that blame on yourself at all. It is 100% Mike's fault, so don't worry about that. So 100%, take the load off, dude. Just one less thing to worry about.
Appreciate that. Weight has been lifted.
Aaron just can't take responsibility sometimes, so he just he likes to shift the blame onto other people.
Oh no! I handle responsibility quite well. There's somebody else I know that doesn't handle.
Ooh, me? Oh, you're throwing shots at me now.
But this is not that time and place, right? This is Kevin's podcast, not the Michael podcast.
I'm a responsible.
I don't know. I'm all for spending my podcast. I'm down with that.
This is Kevin's podcast now. We're handing over the reins to you. I think me and Aaron have had a good run. I've had a good run. Aaron, maybe not so much, but
I think you'll get better ratings like that.
Wheeler equals ratings.
Hey.
Winner of the Mike Pryor's lookalike contest equals ratings. The amount of people have actually
confused. The most frustrating thing in the world. Be it I'm on the mats. I step off the mats reffing, and they're like, "Oh, aren't you still on the mats? I just saw you reffing on mat 3." It's like, no, that's not me.
No, that's not me.
That's my doppelganger.
That's my doppel. I think that's basically the title of the podcast, Aaron, is the doppelganger.
The doppelganger.
Kevin's good at jiu-jitsu. I just lift now, so.
Yeah, you were retired, eh?
Well, semi-retired. I actually had plans of doing more tournaments. I was actually going to compete this year more, and then, well, you saw what happened.
Well, very first World Championships, I had the pleasure of rooming with the one and only Michael Bryars.
You did.
It was pretty legendary.
It was a magical time.
2013, you and me and Nahad.
Me, you, and Nahad and Long. What happened to Nahad? Is he retired now? Has he disappeared off the face of the planet? What's that?
He's living in Korea now.
Oh, he's in Korea now?
Yeah, he has been for a while.
Oh, okay. No, good for him, though. Shout out to Nahad. He'd probably be listening to this as well.
Oh, he will. Once he sees I'm on your show, of course he's going to be watching.
Yeah, he's not listening to anybody else.
That's it.
He's like, Kevin Wheeler? Who is this man's? But no, we actually did room together at one of the original, I think that was my first Worlds as well. 2013, Long Beach, California. Try not to get trapped in the closet. What's that? Trapped in the closet. Right across
from the trapped in the closet, like free HIV test place. Like, what the hell?
You know you're in a good neighborhood when they're giving out free HIV tests in the middle of the hood.
Yeah, we got a spot there. We got a good spot there. But that was fun. That was some great memories, that trip, for sure.
Yeah, that was good. That was good times.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, obviously, because I know you guys are reffing together all the time, are you getting blamed a lot for Mike's bullshit ref decisions that he's obviously biased opinions giving to other teams on purpose?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest problem with looking like Mike. They're like, yo, that guy's a shitty ref.
Aaron, you know what? Somebody's actually gonna listen to this and they're actually gonna think you're serious and they're gonna be like, I knew it! Fuck that guy! I knew he was doing this.
No, both me and Mike are both fairly competent. I'm not quite as competent a ref as Mike, so I don't think we got too many complaints coming our way.
No, I don't think Kevin's had too many complaints gone against him. But you know what though, when it comes to reffing, we can talk about that a little bit as well. It's
a hard game.
It's a hard game. It's you can know the rules. There's a difference between, I think, knowing the rules and how to apply them in situations, because I think me and Aaron have talked about this a few times. You can take one situation and 3 refs, and 3 refs can see it 3 different ways. I think that's a major, when it comes to more of the IBJJF rule set is what I'm talking about, or the OJA or the Ontario Jiu-Jitsu Association or the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu Association, that rule set, because they usually follow the IBJJF. But usually that rule set, there's a lot of gray areas. I think you would agree with that as well. There's things 100%. That one person could call one way and they can have a justification for it being right. And then there could be a way that Aaron calls things and it's wrong. And then there's a way that Kevin could call something differently. And you could, as long as you're justifying it, you're applying the rules, hey, you know what? This is what I saw. It's in the rule book. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. It is fairly subjective, and like all you can do is do your best, right? A lot's going on in matches. It's very dynamic. You can be focusing on one thing and miss something completely. It's all about perspective too. You need to be in the right spot, seeing the right things, knowing what's coming, kind of anticipating what the person is looking for. There's a lot of variables, and there's a lot that can be missed, and stressful job sometimes, right?
Yeah. What are some things? I'll just talk about the IBJJF rule set in general, but what are some things you would like to see changed with that to like either add more clarity or just get rid of some rules that you think are silly, or even like what are your favorite like rule sets to compete in? Because you've competed in a bunch as well, besides like the IBJJF one.
Actually, really, I mainly just competed in IBJJF. I've maybe done one submission only tournament back when we had that's the Ontario sub only tournament. I've mainly just did IBJJF tournaments and rule sets, but I don't know what I would change. There's so many like advantages can be such a tricky game. The fact that like someone can get a almost submission, almost put someone unconscious and just get an advantage for it, and then there's another scenario where two people are sitting on their butt and one person comes up and they get an advantage. So like, it's hard to say how I would correct that, but I definitely see that advantages aren't equal, right?
No, they're not. I agree with that.
Aren't equal. And there's almost an argument for giving multiple advantages for certain scenarios, but like for an almost sub, maybe you give 2 advantages, but like, or things, points, would those be awarded points? I don't know. It would be hard to amend the rules. I wouldn't know what I would change about them, but I do not like the fact that, you can work so hard for something and only get an advantage, and then other scenarios do nothing and get an advantage for it, right?
And especially at like a black belt level, if you're watching like adult worlds or even like masters worlds, a lot of those matches, because like, for example, even masters worlds, like you have 5-6 minutes and you're fighting black belt competition that has been training a long time. Yep. One little tiny mistake and like that's it. Like that's the whole match, and it could be an advantage somewhere, and like that's the whole thing.
That was me in the finals. I made such a stupid lapel pass. Like I was doing so well in the finals, worlds. I had like a nice lapel going around my leg, and I don't know why I decided to unravel it. I felt like I was too restricted, and then you see me in the video, I let go of the lapel, and the second I try to unravel my leg, boom, he passes to the right. So like, yeah, it's like that. You make one mistake and it's over.
Now, let me ask you this, because you guys both have perspective as a referee. Now, when we talk about like changing things, would you ever want to see where advantages would like accumulate? Let's say, obviously it don't happen in a lot of situations, but let's say, okay, you got one guy has 2 points and then a guy's racked up like a whack load of advantages, right? So maybe he got the points at the beginning of the match, and then I don't like you
take those advantages to the bank and you cash them in for points. That's what basically what Aaron's saying.
That's what I'm asking, right?
I don't know, because like if the thing is like if you change a rule, then that can entirely change how people are going to compete and like strategize, right? So people are going to take advantage of the rules, especially the ones that know them. Or if you're refereeing and you have experience and you know the rules, you're going to try to use them to your advantage. You're going to try to use them to, your teammates' advantages as well if you're coaching them.
That's it. That's the game, right? It's like you can be attacking from the bottom and have all kinds of almost finishes, but if that guy swept you and he's up 2 points, you're not going to win unless you use one of your submission attempts to sweep, and you need to be factoring that into your attack. And it is what it is. Like, we all know the rules, and if you can't make that sweep happen, it doesn't matter if you almost ripped my arm out 5 times. I won the match. I got the points, and we both knew the rules from the beginning. And hey, if you can't win under that rule set, then
that's why I was just asking, right? Like, if you guys, if we're talking about like if there's things to change, would that be something you'd want to change, or it's just like, no, that kind of needs to be stuck, like stay with that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do get what you're saying, and I was kind of saying the same thing, that like I don't like the fact that someone could work so hard for one advantage and then someone barely works and gets 2 advantages that aren't didn't result in any progression in the match, right? If you got
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
because if I almost submit somebody and somebody double guard pulls, you both have an advantage for something. But I've also seen at a lot of like refereeing courses where they try to give you like a precedent of, you have to look at like how each advantage is scored. So for example, if there's a match, let's say it's 1 advantage to 1 advantage, and it comes down to that, if somebody nearly submits somebody for an advantage and somebody double guard pulls and comes up for an advantage, just using those 2 as an example, the precedent would be on the person scoring the submission because they got the closest to winning the match. And then it would go like, let's say point scoring position. So like, let's say you almost sweep me, but then I get back on top and then you get advantage, but then I almost pass your guard. Since passing a guard would be worth more in the points category, then that should be weighed more if you're making like a referee decision, just for like an example.
Definitely. But let's say in that match, now we had 2 double guard pulls and I came up for both of them and I got 2 advantages. And you almost completely strangled me unconscious, but I just barely popped out. How did I win the match and you lost, right? But definitively, I got 2 advantages and you got 1. Yeah. But that's the game, and we know that's the game. And hey, I knew the rules from the beginning, and if I wasn't able to score another advantage, hey, I shouldn't win the match, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
No.
Okay. I have a question.
I don't know. Yeah, there could definitely be some changes to the rules, but I just wouldn't know where to change them. You need more intelligent people, more savvy people on the rules than me.
I think there's a lot of trial and error as well. You have to see you have to implement a rule change, so like knee reaping and things like that. I'm just using that as an example, then see what happens with it. Then you can kind of like make some of the modifications like they're starting to now, especially for no-gi, where like you can reap, you can do heel hooks, and they're trying to like evolve like that side of the game a little bit more. I was going to ask you, is there any like jiu-jitsu people that you follow like outside of your team that are like influences on you, or like any MMA fighters? Like, do you watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, or are you watching a lot of like UFC outside of like your own training?
Not too much like watching actual matches and stuff, but I have been trying to do a lot of studying and doing a lot of Danaher studying. And if you watched my matches at the Worlds, you could tell that I've been doing a lot of Keenan studying, a lot of lapel encyclopedia studying. And I feel that's been a bit of a cheat code for me in my jiu-jitsu the last year or so, because I've really been heavily relying on it in the last couple tournaments, and I think it's made a big difference. So that Keenan studying for a bit of that edge on the fancy stuff that people aren't really seeing, and then the Danaher to kind of fix my basics and tighten up that kind of that ground from the bottom up, kind of that basics. And also, I do a lot of teaching, so I find it very beneficial to study the way that Danaher teaches. He speaks to you like you're a child and like you've never done jiu-jitsu before. I learn a lot from that kind of style, and I kind of want to I find that my teaching style benefits a lot from studying his type, right?
You're just talking down to all the children. Okay, this is how you met. You're gonna talk in like a New Zealand accent. Like, I can't do a New Zealand accent at all. It's like, this is how you mount. This is it's like, can I go to the bathroom?
Now, we have 2 dilemmas in this scenario.
2 dilemmas in this scenario.
Dilemma is
dilemma number 1. You listen to the technique.
Is in a supine position.
And you pee your pants because you can't hold it in. Dilemma number 2.
So let me ask you this, because when you look at like all these new instructionals that have like really come into play within the last year, and you look at, let's say the Keenan encyclopedia, which is a wealth of knowledge, and Keenan teaches a certain way, right? The way he communicates his message and when it's there. And then when you have the Danaher, like any series where it's very methodical, but it's almost like a 20-minute lecture on positioning, right? Yeah. Before you actually get and again, I still love the videos. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing either one, right? But the one thing about the Danaher thing is like he gets really good points. It just takes way too long to get there in instruction.
Right.
I don't know. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I do think that too, and it can be very easily fall asleep on it to that stuff. I've definitely had a few naps watching my Danaher videos, but like I do find he really drives points home, right? He says them so many times that like I didn't need to watch that DVD 4 times. You know, he just drilled this concept into me. He forced me to watch it 4 times, right? Whereas like a Keenan thing, I'll have to watch it once, I'll have to watch it again, I'll have to watch it a 3rd time, make sure I got it. And I guess I do still do that with the Danaher videos, but like, you know, I feel like he forces the most important points. He reiterates them so much that you're never going to lose them, or that they're going to be drilled so much into your mind. And I think that can be beneficial to it, but only if you can get through it. It's hard to watch more than like half an hour of Danaher at a time, you know?
Yeah. No, I've noticed that.
What made you gravitate towards those 2 names? Like, what made you pick up the lapel game and add that to what you're doing? Like, was it just something that you found like it just worked for you, or is it something like trial and error? Or
I had seen it for a while. Like Simon Hepworth had been killing me in the gym with it a little bit. I'd seen his daughter Hannah in the kids' classes just murdering kids with the lapel, and I definitely had a lot of respect for the fact that it's like jiu-jitsu is to someone who doesn't know jiu-jitsu, right? If you don't understand the system, it is going to kill you. And it's just that's the kind of thing that attracted me to jiu-jitsu in the beginning. The fact that like I have a cheat code, and if you don't know the cheat code, you're going to get destroyed by it. And it was actually a lapel seminar. We had some Brazilian guys here training and beating us up for a lot of the past couple of years. And 2 of them, Foss was not Brazilian, but Lisboa and Fossa put on a seminar for us in Pickering, a lapel seminar. And I went to that and kind of definitely had respected the lapel, but wasn't playing it myself. And they showed me some cool concepts and some cool attacks. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. I want to learn it. So as I said, the way I fell in love with jiu-jitsu from the beginning is just that, well, if I know this and they don't, I can beat them. Okay, sign me up. Teach me it. I want to know it, right? And they kind of put that love for the lapel in me. And then I went and got the lapel encyclopedia and did the studying and kind of been sharpening it up myself, right? And I've seen so much success from it from the beginning that it was just, okay, yes, this is where I should be putting my time. It's definitely very niche in sport jiu-jitsu. I'm never going to be using my lapel knowledge in anywhere other than competing in jiu-jitsu, but competing in a gi, but like...
you mean you're not going to use the lapel in a street fight?
I don't know. That might be my first go-to. Just unzip their sweater and open up the sweater.
Hang on a sec.
They have like a zipped-up sweater.
This is a common question we ask a lot of guests. Will a berimbolo work in a street fight? I think it's a good way to slip this in right now.
I think that if the Meows wanted to berimbolo you in a street fight, they're going to fucking find a way. They're going to find a way. You know, if you're good enough with the berimbolo, you can make it happen. But I wouldn't be pulling it out as the main attack. Probably don't want to be pulling guard, but if you found yourself on the bottom with a De La Riva hook, hey, if they don't know what's going on, hey, you might find yourself on their back before you know it.
Grab the belt, crab ride on glass and concrete. You got this.
Yeah, you definitely want to be picking your environments, and it's got to be a one-on-one position, or one-on-one situation. But I wouldn't be pulling it out as your aim game. But hey.
How about jiu-jitsu competitors? Is there anybody that you follow in like Masters 1 that you're competing with, or any of like the adult competitors that you're seeing coming up right now? Like, what are some names, if there's any, that you've been following and studying?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't watch too much. Like I follow one person. I'll just be watching who's in the finals of the worlds that year, who's been making waves, and just kind of I kind of gravitate to some of the older names, some of the OGs, but no, yeah, I don't study too many actual matches. I don't watch too many actual jiu-jitsu matches. I don't have any good names for you other than watching a few Keenan videos, watching his fights, but I more like to kind of just do the actual instructionals rather than watching fight videos. I guess I kind of burned myself out at the beginning of my jiu-jitsu career. That's all I did, right? I watched UFC 100, every event. I watched every freaking undercard event. I watched every small organization out there, all the Pride events, all the Dream, and just burned myself out watching MMA. I watch a lot less fighting now. I don't know what it is.
I think it's just like the more you go on, like the less and less of it you need to see. I was kind of the same way. Like when I started, I watched all the big jiu-jitsu tournaments, all the big UFC events, and I'll watch like some of the big UFC cards now. But for the most part, I'm not trying to watch like every single event because there's one every week. Like there's so many to follow. But I'll follow a lot of the big ones. And I think one of the big ones coming up, I think Connor's going to fight Dustin Poirier. They're going to have a rematch. Nice. Are you going to watch that? And if you are, who do you got?
I don't know too much about Poirier. I just know that it didn't go well from the first match. Connor, he's a special guy, right? He's got just next level range, next level movement. He's a very hard person to hit and a very hard person to fight. Just the way he gets in your head, the way he shit talks like no other. I think the mental aspect of fighting Connor has got to be one of the hardest parts of fighting Connor. I think it's a hard hurdle to overcome, and maybe he'll be able to do it. But I think that guy gets in your mind like no other, right?
Yeah, no, I feel Connor will come back again and do. It'll be a different fight, I think, for sure. I think Poirier will have a better fight this time, but I still think Connor will beat him again. I just think Connor's striking is just on a different level compared to Dustin.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I think Connor's striking's on a different level. I think you even said it as well, Kevin, that he's very hard to hit. He's very elusive. His range is different. His range management, like just everything he does is very unique. So when you're preparing to compete against somebody like that, it's hard to mimic that with sparring partners and people coming in because there's nobody who spars or fights like him. It's like trying to game plan. Like how do you game plan for Khabib, for example? It's like you can't. He's just a different level of fighter. Like there's been stories of him like doing 5 rounds with like light heavyweights and heavyweights in the UFC. He's just like, all right, round 1, ding, 5 seconds in, takes him down, and he's just on top of them for 5 minutes. Round 2, all right, I'm not getting taken down by this guy who's 3 weight classes below me. Round 2, ding, same thing, taken down 5 seconds in, and then just on top for nonstop. He's just buzzsawing people, and like these aren't even just lightweights and welterweights that he was training with. Like these were like people that were 205. Heavyweights, like big guys that should at least be able to hold their own. They're just getting tackled. But like those are 2 people that are just at another level. And I think Poirier is very good. I think it's gonna be a different fight as well. But then at the same time, I think it's hard to game plan for somebody like Connor. I don't think Poirier is gonna have answers for like the way he strikes. And I think I can see Connor winning that one again.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, you mentioned Khabib, and what I really like about Khabib and about fighters like him, that like what he's going to do. There's no secret that Khabib's going to take you down and ground and pound you, but good luck stopping him, right? And I love that when the person's A game. There's no secret. You're not going to get any crazy surprises, but I dare you to stop them. Good luck trying to stop them.
Khabib's game plan: takedown, it's like double leg takedown.
There's no secret. There's no secret to everybody, right?
It's like watch all of his fights. It's the same thing over and over again. And there's something to that level. I think the best thing I can compare it to is Hodger in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Yeah,
it's like
mount cross choke.
He's probably one of my all-time greats, and it sounds weird because everybody's like, "Oh, Mike, don't you all do all this fancy like jujitsu shit where like you spin upside down on your head and inside out and tug on people's pants and lapels?" It's like I do that, but like I actually have like a great appreciation for like Hodger's jujitsu, and the reason being is it's so unbelievably simple. And I'm not saying that like it's a derogatory term. It's all basics. It's all stuff you learn at white belt. He's just so good at it. Everybody knows what's coming. Nobody can stop it. And I think
it's those advanced basics, right? It's not just basics. It's like he's doing basic techniques, but there's so much subtlety to it, and there's so many little differences, little things that he does that people don't do, right? And intricacies that most people don't catch, right? And,
it's little subtle things where it's like, okay, I'm going to go to mount, but the way you're going to stop it, you're setting up. There's different attacks and defenses. I use also Gordon Ryan as another example where he knows with his game everything that you're going to do to try to stop him, and he has an answer for all those things that you're going to do to try to stop him. Hodger, I think, is the same way in pretty much every position, where he knows what you're going to do before you even do it.
And both of them, they're just so incredibly like fundamentally sound, and that I think is so important at the high level, right? You see people that are fancy and so good at their niche areas, but have holes in their jiu-jitsu, right? And I want to be that guy who doesn't have any holes. He has just such a fundamental game, and everything is, you don't do anything wrong. But, you know, if you want to be extremely effective at a competition, I do think you do have to have a niche and an area that people can't operate on the level that you're operating. You know, have such a higher understanding of a certain fancy area, and they can't keep up with it. I think that's important, but it's also important to have the just incredible fundamental understanding of every position, the way that a Hodger Gracie does. And that's kind of why I study so much Danaher stuff, because I'm trying to fix that in my goal, in my game. I just want to be doing the right thing in every position, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no. I think it makes complete sense. I think another thing too is like when you look at like, and here's a question, because it's like you see all these guys who are, you know, really good jiu-jitsu players that are all, whether they can't make money in jiu-jitsu now, so they're all dipping their toes going into MMA, right? So we have, and they either find success or they don't, right? So we have Dylan Dennis, for example. Yeah, he's got 2 wins, but both are against guys that are no real good ground games at all. Right, I think it's just the floor, goes for ankle lock, and that's it. You got guys like Tim Spriggs that are going to going into MMA, and then all of a sudden we got guys like Jake Paul jumping into boxing, right? And now calling out Dylan Dennis, and then Tim Spriggs is calling out Dylan Dennis into boxing. So there's all these guys just trying to make money now, whether it's a celebrity status or it's just. And it's kind of weird too, because it's like, okay, nobody's sticking to what they just do anymore, right? They're all over the place. And I'm like, that's why I put a post out there, and like Tim Spriggs was like, hey, Dylan Dennis is trying to be a celebrity. He's not trying to be a fighter anymore. Like that's his honest assessment from it.
Yeah. And I can understand why he wants to do that. He wants to make money, but yeah, that's what MMA is nowadays, I think. It's, can you sell yourself? Can you market yourself? You could have the best person in the world fighting, but people don't really want to watch that. They want to watch the Conor McGregors of the world, the people who are going to run their mouth, the people who are going to make it exciting. People also, too, that their styles will be exciting. So it's more about how you market yourself and getting the right opportunities, right, and putting yourself out there. So yeah, they're feeding to that 80% of the population that doesn't know about it, but will watch it for whatever reason, rather than the 20% that really know and are like the diehard, you know, fans and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's where the money's at, right?
I think there's a lot of that, not even just in MMA, or like there's a lot of that in MMA. Like Colby Covington's like another perfect example of that, of somebody who's just going to talk.
He's just off the deep end.
He's just going to talk an unbelievable amount of shit and like deny that he got knocked out. I think my favorite all-time,
My jaw wasn't broke.
I broke your jaw. I broke your face.
It broke. It wasn't broke.
It wasn't. I broke your face.
Legend.
But I would say one of my favorite all-time trash talkers was none other than Chael P. Sonnen. Because he would just go on rant. He would just deny anything. It's like in pro wrestling, like a perfect bad guy would just deny that he got beat. Like he could get his ass kicked 65 matches in a row, and then he would come out just the next day on like a TV and just be like, "Yeah, man, I won. I kicked the guy's ass. I did this. I did that."
You know? And he got like title shots coming off of losses and stuff. There was a reason, you know, like that paid him well. That served him well. All that shit talking, right?
Like that, like it was hilarious because he's fighting like Anderson Silva, and like he's talking about the fight. It's the first fight he had with him, and he's like, "How can you take a grown man down and punch him in the face for over 20 minutes straight, and that man throws his legs around your head for 10 seconds, and he's declared the winner? How is that possible?" It's like, that's exactly what happened. You got triangles.
Yeah. Well, then don't give up. You know, that's his own fault. He gave up.
Yeah.
Just the way he worded it, he's like, "What do you mean? I beat him up for 20 minutes." Just going on. He's like, "I beat him up. I did this. I did that." I thought it was
definitely
just
had a gift of gab.
He had it was by far one of those hilarious things I've ever heard, because he's not lying. Technically, he's not lying. That's what happened. But then the way he stretched the truth, I guess you could say, to market it, made it even better.
His personal assessment of it, yeah.
So, yeah, like total opposite, I think, personality to probably you. But do you enjoy, like, you see this a lot, and like now you're starting to see it a lot more in jiu-jitsu, like kind of the MMA thing. Like Gordon Ryan's talking crazy amounts of shit on Instagram. What's your take on that whole situation of, like, you know, the Dylan Dynases of the world, the Conor McGregors of the world, the Kobes of the world, the Gordon Ryans of the world, and all that marketing? Or are you just like doing your thing, like what you're doing right now?
I get it's marketing, and I get that, hey, the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. As I said with Chael, he was getting title shots coming off of losses and stuff. Like, there was a reason, right? But like, people don't really want to see the humble, quiet, like, yes, yeah, I'm just gonna go out and do my best kind of person. But that's what I respect the most. That's what I kind of like. I like the Fedors of the world. Just like, don't say anything, go and just get it done. You know, yeah, you talk your shit, but I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna just do my best. And I've always liked that. When Anderson caught Chael in that triangle, I was jumping for joy, right? It's like, yes, shut this guy up finally, right? I love that. I love the silent assassin, the humble, respectful person who can just go out, doesn't need to rip on anybody, doesn't need to talk shit about people, just go out and do their best. But like, it does add to a match. Exciting to watch.
It can add to a match. I think Chael also had another excellent line where I think he was talking about not doing jiu-jitsu because he didn't believe in it, because he was a Republican and he didn't believe in having another man between his legs.
It's certainly entertaining, right? It's certainly entertaining. And the Conor McGregor
meanwhile, he's training out of Gracie Baja in like Oregon while he's saying these things. And then he's also like, you know, he's talking a little bit of trash about Brazil as well, where he's saying the first time the Nogueira brothers came to America, they tried to feed a bus a carrot. And then there was a Brazilian interviewer. They were actually in Brazil. I think they were in Rio, and they were interviewing him. And I think they were trying to like kind of provoke him into like saying some like, you know, anti-Brazilian things. But then like Chael was like really humble and respectful. And he's like, you know, like my jiu-jitsu instructor, Pedro Sauer, will really like, because they gave him a Brazilian flag. And they're like, hey, we'll give you this. He's like, you know, thank you. I'm going to hang this in my and Pedro Sauer's gym, who's like one of my professors. He's like being like really humble and respectful. And then I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, did you just say you don't do jiu-jitsu because you're a Republican? Hold on a minute. What's going on? Like, you can tell like a lot of times like it's an act. Like you can tell like with a lot, like Chael, I think is a perfect example. You can tell like it's an act with him, and he's like trying to hype a fight.
For sure. And it's like the Conor McGregors of the world, you know, like he's just trying to sell the fight, right? Watch him getting beat up by Khabib, and Khabib's like, talk now. And he's like, it's just business, dude. Like, just business. Like, I'm just here trying to fucking sell the fight, trying to make $1, right?
What's that background sound? All I hear is like a typing.
Can you hear that? I'm sorry.
What is that?
That was a Spacey. I'm actually quarantining in the gym. because I live with my parents, so I didn't want to subject them to a possible coronavirus outbreak. So I've been quarantining in the gym for the last week, and I got another week to go. It's a little cold in the back room, so I had a space heater going. I was hoping you guys can hear it. But hear it, I'll turn.
No.
What is the 14-day quarantine like? I know a couple people we've had on podcasts previously. I think Max did Nogi Pans. He got back. He had to do a 14-day quarantine. Like, you know, what are your thoughts on it? Like, I have my own opinions on it. Like, I think, you know, you got to be cautious and careful, but at the same time, I think now they're starting to find maybe 14 days might be a little excessive, maybe.
It might be a little excessive, but like I said, I'm not really doing it for me. I'm doing it for people around me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes everybody else have a better peace of mind. If I'm quarantined and I'm not around anybody, so I'll suck it up and do it. Of course,
you'll keep your herpes on that side of the gym over there.
That's it. I knew what I was getting into before I came, right? Before I went to Florida, I knew what I was going to have to do.
Did they make you do a rapid test coming home?
No, I didn't have any option to do that. I would have liked to, but I didn't hear anything.
I would like that too, honestly. Just for you do one like when you land and then one like 7 days after, because I think they're finding 99. I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but it's a high percentage, 90. It's a lot where most COVID cases are going to develop within that week. You'll know within like 7, 8, 9. It's a very scientific number. It's science, Aaron. It's science. Don't laugh over there.
You're a fucking mathematician over there.
I'm just going to keep saying it's science because, you know, whenever I don't have an argument, I'll just be like, it's science. What do you mean? Bill Gates is going to microchip you. It's science. It's science.
Well, I'm on day 8 now, and I haven't caught any or haven't had any symptoms yet. So I think I'm on the clear. So fingers crossed.
Fingers
Well,
crossed.
that's good. I mean, like, and again, like if you look at it, like you're at a place where people are like, whether they're being cautious, they're healthy, they're doing whatever they can there. I don't know, like, I don't know the atmosphere you're in, right? But it's just like, it's like the fucking cold, man. Like you're gonna catch a cold, you're gonna catch a flu, you're gonna catch everything, right? Like there's no real we got into this whole thing of prevention, though nobody can get it, but I'm like, it's not possible. Like it's a disease. People get diseases all the time.
I thought the whole thing at the beginning was all about flatten the curve and not just making sure that we didn't all have it at the same time. I thought that was just general consensus that we were all going to get it. Just don't want to be all getting it at the same time. But, you know, I think it's important to have a healthy immune system and still be kind of subjecting yourself, not putting yourself in a bubble, right? And sitting in a bubble all the time, sitting there eating fast food, not working out, probably just going to make you more susceptible to getting sick, getting this or something else, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Like you still need to exercise, you still need to eat properly, still need to supplement accordingly, you still need to keep your immune system strong. You should still, follow precautions as well. Like don't throw like 100-person orgies at that gym there, Kevin. Don't be getting any ideas. Probably not a good idea right now, just saying, but like if you're throwing like a massive house party. Yeah, you said it.
Your mind went there and
get your mind out of the gutter, Mike. Get your mind out of the gutter. But no, like it's not a good idea to, probably hang out in multiple, large gatherings and things like that, maybe with like, hundreds
I wasn't
of people.
going to train down there. I wasn't going to go to a gym and train in Florida. I was just, fight, go down, compete, wash my hands as much as I can, wear the mask as much as I can, take as many precautions. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if I get some.
That's what you got. I think it's honestly that's the best approach, I think, going forward. I think for everybody listening, like you just got to keep doing what you're doing and just be careful. Yeah,
that's it.
And just be careful. One more thing I want to ask you this evening: your future, 2021. What plans do you have? Are there going to be tournaments in Ontario in 2021? We don't know that yet. But like, what are your plans? Like, are you going to be doing like some pod training, or are you just going to focus on you do you? Like, what's the plan for you?
It's hard to make plans in the landscape that we're in right now, right?
It is.
I would hope that we can get back to some kind of training and I can go back to teaching in small groups and some kind of training. Like you said, some pods. I think we're gonna, at least the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be laying low and not doing too much, and just kind of using the time for self-improvements, for how improving my jiu-jitsu and improving other aspects of my life, right? Trying to do a little bit of Portuguese studying, just kind of laying low, right? And just working on myself. Hopefully, yeah, that we can get back to jiu-jitsu and we can get back teaching. And but right now it's hard to really make plans, right? Because we don't know what we're allowed to do. We don't know where we're going to be in the next couple of months. I would imagine we're going to be stuck in lockdowns till at least March, April. So just staying inside and trying to keep my sanity, I guess.
Kind of what I'm anticipating, unfortunately, because usually when they say, hey, we're going to shut things down for 2 weeks, usually going to be longer than 2 weeks or 4 weeks, or what they're saying, right? I'm anticipating it's going to be longer, unfortunately.
I think so. And it's like, it's flu season. I don't know, it's cold out. I don't think we'll be rushing back to everything. I think the spring, hopefully that's when we'll start thinking about relaxing some of the lockdowns.
Yeah. This is kind of a random question, but I'm going to propose it to both of you. Have you both noticed that you haven't been as sick this year?
Yeah, I honestly, well, I chalk that up to the fact that I'm not teaching as many kids classes, but I would get sick 3-4 times in like September, October time, but I haven't been sick at all this year. I got really sick in January though. I think I had coronavirus in January.
You know what? I was actually going to say the exact same thing, because the end of January, I was sick for a good 2 weeks, like off and on, just felt like complete garbage, completely run down. And a lot of the symptoms I had were very similar. I'm not saying I had it already, and it doesn't mean, oh, well, like just because you got it once, you can't get it again, which I think is, it's false, because you can go, oh, well, just because you had the flu once doesn't mean, oh, you're good. You're never going to get the flu again. It's like,
in some cases, it's worse the second time too, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. But I think there was a strong chance that I had it already. I think there's also a strong chance that my wife had it already, because a lot of her symptoms were very similar as well. Like she was sick for a couple of weeks and just off and on, just like lungs were messed up and just weren't feeling good. I think like even Aaron, he'll speak for himself.
Oh,
but I think,
yeah, like I had something for sure. And again, like every year, like it's almost like clockwork, where it's like January, February is normally where I'll get, whether it's being a flu or some sort of virus or like sore throat, because of just environments where you work, right? And just everybody's getting sick, so you get sick. And I think the entire staff of like where Mike and I worked at the time were literally all sick within like the same like month, basically. And then all of us kind of got over everything, because again, one person gives it to the other person, whatever, sitting in offices and all that kind of stuff. And then like, yeah, like I would not be surprised if it happened at the club, but I don't know. So,
yeah,
there's a strong chance that I think I probably had COVID as well. That's probably in January, and at the time, it's like it wasn't as hyped like media wise right now. Like there wasn't like a daily ticker counting cases. It was just
they didn't start doing that until they didn't start doing that until like late February, March. And then when they shut the NBA down, that's when everything kind of went to hell.
Yeah. I think I was actually away for that. And I was like, what the hell is going on in the world?
I think I brought it to Portugal. I infected Portugal. Because I went to the Euros, like the week before I was going to go to the Euros, I just got so sick. I'd never been so sick in my life. Just ridiculous flu. I couldn't I couldn't manage my temperature. I was always either way too hot or way too cold. And then, hey, it's my flight to Portugal. I got to go. So jumped in the plane with
I gotta go.
Pairs of sweatpants. I'm like, they would not let me on a plane in that condition now. Oh my God. I would be freaking thrown into a quarantine fucking facility right away.
I think
sneezing on the person next to me. I'm switching out my sweaters. I'm sitting there. I've got 4 sweaters on. I'm taking them off and then putting them back on. Sweating buckets. And then got to Portugal. I went and lived in a bed for 2 days and then felt better. And I went and competed and then felt okay. But yeah, I think I brought it to Portugal with me.
Like when you hear stories like that, like, and again, like I'm sure Mike's got stories like that. Like I have stories of being sick and going to work and all that kind of stuff. Like those things just seem like normal, right? They're like, hey, I'm not sick enough where I can't work. I got to go do X. Like, I have to do what I need to do. And so you just go out and did it, right? And the precautions are precautions, right? But you think about, if you try to do that stuff now, it's like, no, you can't. You can't.
It's like, whoa! What the hell are you doing? You have a dry cough?
You can't exactly. You got a dry cough. Like, you think about schools, like one symptom. So if you have like a snuff, like how many kids have a fucking stuffy nose all the time, right? Like all these different things. It's changed the way people think so much about any sort of sickness at all, where the common cold is now all of a sudden fucking COVID, right? So it's just like,
or gonorrhea. Okay, could be that too. You never know. But you're right though. Like, there's been stories of, like what Aaron was saying. There's stories of like, I'm not feeling too great, but I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna suck it up. How many times does that happen where you're training, where you're just like, I got a little bit of a sniffle, but I'm gonna go in and train? Nope, that ain't happening now.
No way, not anymore.
No bloody way.
Just take some cough medicine and go.
You go train to feel better. It's like, oh, I feel a little sick. I'll go to roll, sweat it out.
You're right. 100. Take some Dayquil and go to train, whatever.
Yeah. So Kevin Wheeler was Randy Marsh in South Park, where he went to China and infected, and he infected the country with Mickey Mouse. That's what he did in Portugal. That's a South Park reference, by the way, for anybody who's listening. But check that one out,
Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you appreciate it. I'm glad you do.
With Mickey Mouse and the pangolin.
Oh boy!
Here's some fucking Mandalorian. We need more of that.
Oh, that was good. The finale of the second season. Oh my!
Oh, you watched that?
Oh yeah,
fucking badass, eh?
So cool. I'm excited for the next one.
Oh yeah, no. And the Book of Boba Fett's coming out too. They finally gave him a show. It's like, fucking right.
Yeah. No, I'm excited that they're actually doing some of these Star Wars properties well, right? The Mandalorian was the first Star Wars thing in a while that I've been excited about.
Yeah, no, that was good. Like, when you watch that, then spoiler alert for anybody who has watched the episode, but it's been out for too long, so go fuck yourselves. So
spoiler alert, go fuck yourselves. We're talking about it.
That's it.
But did you expect that to happen or what?
When I saw the X, they did kind of allude to a Jedi coming and finding Grogu, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But did you think it was going to be Luke?
Jedi could be, right? And
yeah,
I don't know too much of the Star Wars lore, so I don't know too many of the Jedi. So my mind was immediately on Luke, especially where it is in the timeline, right after they're turning Jedi. Yeah. And I see the X-Wing dock and then the green lightsaber. I was like, oh my, I know who this is.
Oh shit. It's on now.
It's going down. He's just chopping down the dark troopers, just flattening them with his force. The mind. Oh god, it was dope.
Yeah, it was a pretty awesome episode. I was very happy with it.
It was a very satisfying finale to some of the movies that were maybe not so satisfying, I guess you could say.
That's it. Like the sequel trilogy, I don't even know where they were going with that.
Yeah, I got a little off the rails. But no, you know what? I think the new direction that they're taking everything is just everybody's excited for it, because it's keeping it simple, but it's also kind of sticking with the lore and the actual facts of what it was. I think it's like anything. They try to go big, but they went over the top, way too big, and people are like, "What the fuck is this?" It's too much.
I think they're doing a great job having a lot of the people involved in the Marvel universe involved now, like Jon Favreau, who's worked wonders with the Iron Man and the whole MCU world, right? So they're going in that kind of direction, and I think it's paying off.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy how Disney just about owns everything now.
Disney owns Florida. Fact. They own the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, pretty much.
They get a whiff of jujitsu. Things are going to get changed. Like, and it starts making money. Oh boy.
Maybe we'll get bought out by Disney. No, we're not getting it bought out by Disney.
We're not getting
we are not family friendly entertainment.
We're gonna be on the Fox side where Deadpool and all that kind of stuff is. Because I'm okay with that.
I'm cool with that.
No, but that's all been bought by Disney now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we'll be on that side. They'll be okay.
Fair. But I feel like Deadpool is just going to be brought into the Disney world and just done PG.
No, they said that. So Ryan Reynolds, because when they brought him, and they're like, we need to keep Deadpool the way it is, right? Because that's why it was so successful. So they are going to do a rated R version of Deadpool in the Disney universe.
Okay,
which is crazy because they've never really done that.
Yeah,
the fact that
they haven't done much.
But it'll be under the Fox banner, but it won't be under they won't like credit it as Disney. It'll be under Fox still.
How many R-rated Disney movies are there? That's my question.
They don't do R-rated. That's why.
They don't do that.
That's why everybody was all pissed when like Disney bought Fox, because they're like, oh, they're gonna fuck over Deadpool. But no, they're actually like, okay, no, it's successful the way it is. We don't want to mess with it too much. But that's why they did do that. Like, remember when they did a re-release of the Deadpool 2 and they had the holiday special one? So basically they only had like 3 F-bombs in the entire movie because that's the limit you can keep it to, like for A rating.
Oh no, I
so anything over 3 F-bombs, you have to go to R.
Oh my, that's funny.
I don't know. It's just fucking politics.
If he said the word, like the ice has been broken, let him say it as many times as he wants, right? Whatever.
Nope, three times.
Three times. That's it.
You get 3. That's it.
Oh, it's new territory now.
Yeah. I know I'm gonna get yelled at the first day my son drops an F-bomb. It's totally my fault.
My son's already my son hasn't sworn yet, but he's looking at me like, "Don't say that. What are you doing?" You're scolding me. You're 5.
I've been in the car before, and then basically driving, and then I've said something to a driver ahead of me, and then I'll hear in the background, it's like, "Dad, why'd you say F?" And they'll say it. And I'm like, "Oh God, don't repeat that to your mother."
Oops.
Oop, my bad.
Yeah.
I haven't run into these problems yet.
Nah, don't worry. You got a long time before you're there.
I'm in no rush, buddy.
Keep training, man. Because once that happens, the training changes.
I won't be able to go to Florida and quarantine for 2 weeks and over Christmas. That's
in Casa de Gringo.
Casa de Gringo.
In Casa de Gringo.
The world.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Appreciate your
so much for having me.
You're coming on this evening, giving us your time. Do you have any sponsors you want to thank? Anybody you want to thank? Anybody to shout out?
Sure. Sponsors, Kings Canada, Jeff Santos, he's the man. Best ski company on the globe. Kingsfightersmarket.ca. Action Reaction, MMA, best team in Ontario, and Mike's gonna dispute that. And also, big shout out to my boy Chris McLeodis at Core Performance. If you guys want to get your body stronger, that's the guy to holler at. Core Performance, that's the place to be. He's trying to get my weak little body a little stronger, a little bit more ready for that world stage.
Is he going to try to get you from light feather to like ultra heavy?
No, I'm not light feather. I'm feather, buddy.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My mistake.
The next one up is lightweight. We're moving to lightweight eventually.
You're moving to
lightweight. We're putting weight on.
I'm about 210 right now, so I think I'm a good solid heavyweight right now.
Yeah,
but no,
152.
I'm like 210. I'm like 210 right now.
210. Holy shit.
210.
Big guy,
putting on beef. But Kevin, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Appreciate your time. If you're listening to this in the car, me and Aaron are doing specifically is we're trying to, for 2021, we're really trying to build up the YouTube channel. So if you're listening to us, take 30 seconds, like, subscribe, And like our podcast at the Choking Hazard podcast page, that is on YouTube. That's the big one that we're going to be trying to build up in 2021. We're going to have some contests related to that in the very near future as well.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a lot of fun chatting with you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate it.
We'll have us up. We'll do this again soon, hopefully in person, maybe when you're not quarantining, and who knows what will happen.
Thanks everybody for watching. And remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep training, and we'll see you on the mats.